The Reform press conference with Richard Tice and others has just finished here at the Conrad Hotel near Westminster. What have we learned? Well, what we've learned is that Nigel Farage is holding his cards close to his chest. Mr Tice described Farage, who's president of Reform, as playing a poker game, and that timing was everything, that he wasn't willing to put his cards on the table just yet. So obviously that's left journalists here rather disappointed. I think they were expecting a Farage resurgence after his success in the jungle, and that the announcement today would be that he was taking some key critical role in the general election campaign. Instead, what we've heard is that Ben Habib, who is the deputy leader of Reform, has been unveiled as the candidate for Wellingborough, and equally Richard Tice here has laid out some of the Reform Party's key policies. Also been attacking quite vociferously Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak, saying that the Conservatives have broken the country, that Keir Starmer is going to be responsible if he gets into power for a Starmageddon, talking about how if he becomes Prime Minister it will lead to the economic and cultural collapse of Great Britain. He answered a number of questions here, including the fact that isn't the idea of voting for Reform actually just heralding a Labour victory? Obviously, at the same time as this press conference now, we've got the Liberal Democrats under Ed Davey laying out their general election stall and launching a campaign with a poster themselves. So we've got on one hand the Liberal Democrats appealing to soft Tories in the blue wall. We've got the Reform Party appealing to hard Tories in the red wall. What then happens to the actual Conservatives? Isn't all that's going to happen if Richard Tice and his party are successful is that Starmer is going to end up with more votes because the vote on the right is going to be split? So that's a criticism. I think the biggest problem with this press conference today is it's turned out to be a bit of a damp squib. What the country is waiting for, at least those who would entertain the idea of voting for Reform, is for Nigel Farage to take a much bigger role. Yes, Richard Tice has done a good job over the course of the last 3 years to build up this party's support base, and to be fair to them, they are currently polling at around 9% and actually catching up with the Liberal Democrats, so they are a force to be reckoned with. However, everybody in this room and beyond knows that it's Nigel Farage that people are wanting to see on the posters for Reform. They're wanting to see him in a similar role as to he fulfilled as leader of the UKIP party and indeed the Brexit party in basically taking the troops over the top. I think for Farage there's a number of different key considerations. If he gets more involved with Reform and the general election campaign, what's that going to mean for his GB News show? Is it worth it for him to put in a fight to, as he has once described it to me, push a massive boulder up a steep hill only to end up with, what, 1 seat or no seats? The campaign that Farage really wants to fight is for proportional representation, to change our voting system beyond first past the post to something that could enable parties like Reform and other smaller parties to actually have a say in Westminster. And that's not necessarily the top of the electorate's agenda right now. So yes, Reform have come out fighting today. They say they're the only party that can make Britain better, that can fix broken Britain. But my argument would be that they aren't going to be successful in persuading the public that they are a credible option without a figure like Nigel Farage taking a much more prominent role.